Hi guys, Andy from the rock climbing company here. I just wanted to do a very short quick video on my abseil setup, okay, and how I tend to abseil from in an emergency, or whether I'm abbing off the top of a route, or if I need to ab down to collect a piece of equipment that's got stuck. This is the setup I would normally use, okay. So you don't need a lot of equipment. You'll need a sling, normally about 120 centimeters. If you use a shorter one, you may end up needing to use another sling to be able to reach further away to clip into your anchor once you've made that. But I tend to use the 120 sling because it seems to be the perfect length for everything. What I've set up on my harness is a lark's foot, okay, with the sling. So I've just lark's footed that directly through my tie-on points. Some harness manufacturers will tell you to go on the belay loop. Some will tell you to go through here. So just follow the instructions of what they tell you to do on the manual of your individual manufacturer of harness. And then once I put the lark's foot on, I've put about an overhand knot about a third of the length of the way up the sling. And then as I'm quite close to the anchor here, I've just created another little knot, same again, another overhand knot, just so I can shorten that sling so it's not too slack while I'm working around on the top of the crag here. I've then got my ropes connected to my anchor. You can see the previous videos on building belays and what's appropriate and what isn't appropriate to abseil on. You can then see I've tied my two ropes together. Okay, they're just towards the end. So there's the two tails, and I've put an overhand knot that's been tightened up really tight, and then I've put another one just behind it as a backup. Okay, you don't necessarily need that second one, but it's a belt and braces response. So nice and strong and nice and comfortable to realize that you're going to be nice and safe. At this point now, I need to connect my belay device on. So my belay device is in that first loop of the sling, okay? And I'm going to place the ropes into my belay device as if I was just belaying somebody above me, okay? So it's the same kind of setup that you would usually see. So you've got the climber's end going to the top, and you've got the belayer's end coming downhill, as if you stood at the bottom of the crag belaying somebody back up, okay? And then I'm just going to tighten that up a little bit so I haven't got any extra slack in the system, okay? And I'm now going to start considering flaking my rope down the crag, okay? There's certain things to consider with this. If there's people around, you might need to warn them before you throw it off. If you're in a position where it's a really, really windy day and it's hard to just throw the rope out, there's a few little handy knacks. So this is the method that I would use first, is I've just coiled a few hand coils. There's nobody below me to worry about, so I'm just going to throw those off. Okay, and then I'm going to start gathering those loops all the way to the end. Okay, I'll do another little throw again. That gets a little bit more of the rope down. And then I need to go right to the end of my ropes to get to the very end, so I can, very important point, which would be to tie a knot in the end of the abseiling ropes, okay? It's very tempting to just imagine that the rope's going to hit the floor and you assume it's okay, but you know, things can happen which aren't always textbook. So it's important to understand that you want to get a small overhand knot. So I'm basically at the end of the ropes now that I've thrown off. About a metre of the way up, I'll tie a very small little overhand knot in each strand. They're not tied together in that sense, they're separate. If you tie a bigger knot than that, there's problems with the ropes getting jammed in the cracks when you get to the end of the climb, the abseil, and you need to pull the ropes back down. Okay, so if anything bigger than that, we tend to find gets stuck. Okay, so keeping them nice and small is the way to go. And I'm just going to take a couple of hand coils back up. I'm then going to get a really good throw, which takes the rope all the way down. Okay, so last thing to consider then is before I start abseiling, I'm tempted at this point to take my little extension that clips me into my belay and start heading down. The problem with that is if anything goes wrong, if I get hit by a rock or I slip, I get stung by a bee, and I have to let go of the rope for a second, which is a natural response, there's nothing to stop me from keep sliding all the way down and having a big sudden drop all the way down to the bottom of the cliff. So we use a prusik, okay, to back that system up a little bit. So there's a second hand ready to grab on if I have to let go for any particular reason, whether that's planned or unplanned. The French prusik is the knot we want to tie. So all you need to do here is just wrap the prusik round. It doesn't matter if you wrap up the rope or down the rope, as long as it's neat and you've got plenty of twists to make sure it's going to grab. So I've got 1, 2, 3 twists here. So I know that's enough for when I'm abseiling with this thickness. If your prusik cord's a bit thinner, you might need to have more wraps. If your prusik cord's about 6 mil, which is what I've got here, 3, 3.5, maybe sometimes 4 seems to be appropriate. If you're going down on just one single rope that you've tied off at the top, you're going to find you need a lot more wraps, okay, to give you enough friction. And now I can check that that prusik grabs just by pulling it. So I can see that that won't let the rope slide through. So as soon as I want to abseil, I can just knock the prusik off by touching the top, and then allow me to slide the rope through the belay device. Okay, so I'm in a position to get going now, so abseil off. So I'm going to hold on to my rope. I could tie a big knot in here just while I'm getting myself unclipped if I have to use 2 hands. I call that a catastrophe knot. So if everything goes wrong, I can't go past that point. So I'm not going to slide down very far. I'm going to take my extension sling off that was connecting me to the belay, which was keeping me safe as I was setting up my abseil. And at this point now, I'm ready to go. So I'm going to take my knot out and start working my way down the crag. It's good to remember which end of the rope you want to pull, or which colour rope you're going to pull when you get to the bottom. So in this scenario, we're going to need to pull the yellow rope to be able to retrieve our ropes after I finished abseil. Okay, happy with that? Let's go. So you can see I tend to knock the prusik down and then let it slide back up. Knock it down, let it slide back up. I'm trying to keep things smooth.